Saturn in Gemini grants the native authority over their very word. Okay, I love this placement. Yes, because I'm a Gemini, I'm biased. Okay, but people who have Saturn in Gemini, their word is law. Do not mess with these people. I promise you. All they have to do is say one word, that's your ass. Okay, the more aligned with the integrity of truth that they express, the more powerful and the more authoritative their word actually is. And once again, the reason why this is important is Saturn is a measure of integrity. So these people hate liars. Who likes a liar, right? But the Saturn in Gemini is going to be more focused on the integrity of your word. And if they can't have that, they have no basis to connect with you. Once again, of course, the Saturn and Gemini native themselves, the more they're dishonest and the less integrity they have in their word, the law that it evokes from their word won't be as powerful. Versus Saturn and Gemini that only tells the truth and aligns with what they think, that's a dangerous MFer. Because what they say will actually, like magic, form and crystallize. And what's really dope about Saturn in this position, as we've talked about, Saturn is authority, Saturn is integrity, Saturn represents a totality, but it's also the world in tarot. So a Saturn in Gemini can crystallize an entire world of ideas that they can use in order to, solve problems, communicate what needs to be communicated. And the totality of enlightenment itself, Saturn is a point of liberation. So through communication, breaking through limitations, a Saturn in Gemini can liberate you. Saturn in Gemini sponsors 2001 and 2, I think, and then before that, like 73 or 73, 74. But other than that, the reason why this is significant, I've actually had a conversation with Pluto Sagittarius, Saturn Gemini. Shout out to Niraj, all right, the great connector. Check him out on Instagram. He's basically Jesus. The dude's the truth, literally. But why that's very significant, in talking with him, as a Gemini sun, there were a whole world of ideas that, just living life, you come into. It's like an extensive process with which certain thoughts helped enlighten me. In one conversation with this Saturn in Gemini, he took 2 years worth of thoughts, condensed it into a few sentences, and spoke to me what I experienced the past 2 years. And that's what taught me the concision of a Saturn placement. Jupiter's going to expand, Saturn's going to focus to that single point. And that Saturn in Gemini knows how to really concise their words to bring in so much depth of words into one sentence. So like when you listen to these people talk, they're not just talking. Like me with Gemini, I'm just talking, right? Like I'm gonna have some wisdom in there, but the Saturn in Gemini is very serious about what they say because they have authority. And that's where the limitation of Saturn is a burden, where you're not going to get that slap on the wrist, whereas other people can talk shit. You have to really mean what you say. And I mean, this is why your word is law, all right? Another very significant facet of a transit like this, barring its air element, adds a lot of gravity to how these people communicate. So they're not going to be as willing to engage in small talk. It's always going to lead into something more meaningful or serious. And given its mutable nature, it does open up a whole host of potential possibility and opportunity around the different subject matters that these people can seriously learn, teach, engage in, and help others break through with. Now, because it's the third independent individual sign, similar to the first two, this gives them a pride for their own unique original ideas, all right? And relative to the integrity in what they say, it's going to add a lot more research around them not just speaking ideas that have no real integrity or backing, but can actually be verified or actually true in a certain way. So it's definitely a totally enlightening transit and placement. And potential negatives, I would say, is that with Saturn in Gemini, maybe that gravity can weigh too much on their minds, and it could allow them to take a lot of what they say too seriously. Overthinking is going to take on a much different vein, to where they could be weighed down by their own thoughts. And you know, the more they can at least just allow this limits to actually liberate such restriction, the more it will open up space for them to freely communicate what is aligned with truth. All right, comment down below your experiences with a placement like this, and I'll see you next video.